Welcome back to Lions News Fan Report, where we bring you the latest and most exciting sports news every single day. Whether you're a die-hard Detroit fan or just someone who loves following the roller coaster of NFL drama, today's story is one you absolutely can't miss. Because beneath the surface of the Lions' most recent season, beneath the highs, the heart, the heartbreak, there's a story that might just explain everything. A story of momentum lost. And maybe, just maybe, a story of redemption on the horizon. Because if you were watching closely, you probably felt it too. That sense that something wasn't quite right, no matter how good things looked early on. And now, months later, we're finally starting to get a clearer picture of what really happened and where the Lions go from here. You probably remember the energy at the start of last season, the optimism, the hype, and for good reason. After years, decades of frustration, it finally felt like Detroit was building something real. Jared Goff was comfortable, commanding the offense like a true veteran. Dan Campbell had galvanized the locker room. The front office had put together a defense that, on paper, looked like it could cause real problems for any opponent. And for the first few weeks, it all clicked. This team didn't just look competitive. They looked dangerous. They looked like contenders. But then came the injuries. At first, it was subtle. A player here, a player there. Nothing that felt out of the ordinary. It's football. People get hurt. But slowly, quietly, the list of unavailable players started to grow. And not just backups. We're talking key contributors. Guys like linebacker Derek Barnes, defensive lineman Alan McNeil, and perhaps most crushing of all, Aiden Hutchinson, the emotional and physical anchor of Detroit's front seven. And the timing couldn't have been worse. As the Lions approached the final stretch of the regular season, they were no longer operating at full strength. Not even close. And the wear and tear of the schedule, the physical toll of grinding through week after week, started to show, not just in the injury reports, but in the team's overall energy. Plays that used to be made weren't happening anymore. Gaps on defense that used to close in a second started to open wide. And in a league as competitive as the NFL, those small lapses are all it takes to shift momentum. Suddenly, Detroit didn't look quite as invincible. Then came the playoffs. The chance to prove that all the grit and heart they'd poured into the season had been worth it. And standing in their way, the Washington Commanders. A team with talent, sure, but a team that Detroit, at full health, should have had a real shot at beating. Instead, it turned into a nightmare. A 45-31 loss that felt more like an unraveling than a hard-fought battle. The defense couldn't hold. The offense tried to keep up, but it was like trying to put out a forest fire with a garden hose. And as fans watched the season slip away, there was one question that kept rising to the surface. What happened to our team? Well, now we're starting to get some answers. And they're not just coming from fans or analysts. They're coming from the top. Team President Rod Wood recently spoke with reporters at the NFL's annual league meetings, and what he said added a layer of honesty and vulnerability that Lions fans aren't always used to hearing. He didn't dodge. He didn't deflect. Instead, he compared the team's injury woes to something out of a movie, a literal airplane crash. Wood referenced a moment from The World According to Garp, where Robin Williams and Glenn Close are looking at a house when suddenly, a plane crashes right into it. Robin's character turns and says, "Let's buy it." That'll never happen again. That, according to Wood, is how the Lions are treating last season. The plane already crashed. The worst has happened. And now it's time to move forward. But here's the part that really matters. They're not just hoping next season will be better. They're planning for it to be. Wood revealed that the organization is taking a hard look at everything: training schedules, recovery routines, and most importantly, the timing of their bye week. And this is a detail that might have flown under the radar for a lot of fans. Last year, Detroit had their bye in Week 5, the earliest possible time a team can get a break. That meant they played 14 straight games with no rest. 14. In a sport that demands peak physical performance every single week, that's a recipe for disaster. So now Wood is reportedly pushing hard for a better bye week this season. He's even reached out directly to Mike North, the NFL's VP of Planning and Broadcast Scheduling, to make the case. Because this isn't just about convenience, it's about survival. A mid-season break could mean fewer injuries, more energy in December and January, and a roster that actually has the gas to finish the job. And when you look at the Lions season through that lens, a lot of things start to make sense. It's not just speculation either. There's data across the league that supports the value of a later bye. Teams with mid to late bye weeks tend to perform better in the second half of the season. Their injury numbers are often lower. Their players report higher energy and recovery rates. And when playoff time comes, they're fresher, sharper, more dangerous. Could that have been the hidden edge the Lions were missing? It's very possible. Some insiders are even suggesting that this kind of proactive scheduling shift could be the thing that separates good teams from great ones. Because in today's NFL, talent is everywhere. Coaching is elite across the board. What separates champions is often the smallest details. Recovery, fatigue management, strategic timing. And to see the Lions not only recognize that, but take action, is a sign of just how far this organization has come. So now the question becomes, what happens next? If the Lions manage to stay healthy, if the schedule favors them just a little more, if Hutchinson and Barnes and McNeil are all there when it counts, what's the ceiling for this team? Could this be the year they finally break through? Could they make it to the NFC Championship? Could they, dare we say it, make a Super Bowl run? Lions fans have learned not to get ahead of themselves. We've been burned before. But something about this feels different. This doesn't feel like false hope. This feels like the beginning of something real. And as we head into the new season, there's a growing sense among fans, media, and even within the organization itself that last year's pain might have been the price of future glory. Because sometimes you have to hit bottom before you rise. Sometimes the crash clears the path for the climb. But what do you think? Do you believe injuries were the true reason for the Lions' playoff stumble? Do you think a better bye week and smarter training management could lead to a different outcome next time? Or is there still something more this team needs to address before they're ready to take that final step? Let me know in the comments below. I genuinely can't wait to hear what you all think. This is your team as much as it is mine. And I think we're standing on the edge of something incredible. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Lions News Fan Report, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. We're here every single day with the best Lions content on the internet, analysis, rumors, breakdowns, and everything in between. Thanks for watching, and as always, one pride.